Shalom, good evening. We're going to start this version about Shimon Htsadik. This will be the third lecture in English from Reshit Yerushalayim. And hopefully we will all be able soon to go back and travel and learn Jerusalem by foot. But till then, we will do it by Zoom, and thank you for the Zoom. My name is Reut Odem, and I'm a tour guide and a PhD student at Bar Ilan University. And let's start. So we're going to talk today about Shimon Htsadik, which was a high priest during the Second Temple time. He was a very interesting character in the Second Temple community. He was high priest during a period of time, 40 years. He known as the person who knew exactly what time he will die, according to the Midrash. He went in Yom Kippur to daven in Kodesh HaKodeshim, and after he came out, he said, "This year I will die. I'm going to die soon." So people asked him, "How do you know?" And he told them, every year for 40 years, an old man coming with me to Kodesh HaKodeshim, coming in with me and coming out with me. But this year he came with me and didn't come out. So he knew, and exactly 7 days after Sukkot, after Simchat Torah actually, he died. So his memorial day is in Kaftet B'Tishrei or Kafchet B'Tishrei. So during this date, people are coming to daven at his grave, is a cave actually, in Jerusalem, in a place called Shimon Htsadik neighborhood. We're going to talk tonight about the neighborhood and about the cave as well. So how does that we know exactly where Shimon Htsadik is buried? We know that after he died, at this period of time, people used to bury their dead around the old city. During the old Second Temple time, First Temple and Second Temple, people used to bury their dead around the old city, in the Kidron Valley, in Gei Ben Hinnom Valley, and near the walls. So Shimon Htsadik is actually a cave that the archaeological staff said that it's connects to Second Temple time, but nobody actually knows that Shimon Htsadik is buried there. So it's sort of from the 9th century. At this time, in the Middle Ages, at this time, some pilgrims start traveling in Israel, but also wrote what they saw and what they did here. So we know that Rabbi Binyamin Mitodela, Rabbi Benjamin from Spain, came to Jerusalem and davened at Shimon Htsadik cave. So we know that from his time, people came to Jerusalem and visit Shimon Htsadik cave as well. What's so special about Shimon Htsadik besides that he knew exactly when he's buried? So we said that he was a high priest for 40 years. It's a very high position to be for this long time. And also he had a very special meeting with Alexander Mukdon. Alexander Mukdon that conquered the land of Israel during the Greek times here. So we know that at this period of time, we had lots of people that stay here in the land of Israel, and some group of them came to Alexander Mukdon and asked him to destroy the temple. The Jewish people in Jerusalem heard about it, and they came to Alexander Mukdon to ask him to not do it. So what they did, they went all night walking from Jerusalem to Antipatris, which is today near Rosh Ain, near Petach Tikva, to Alexander Mukdon, to the place that he was. When they came, he saw the bunch of people that walking, that in the head of the people stood a very impressive person with a beard, and he went down from his horse and I forgot the word, השתחווה, to Shimon Htsadik. So he honored him very much, and all his soldiers of Alexander Mukdon asked him, "Why do you do it? He's just an old Jew." And Alexander Mukdon said, "Yes, he is an old Jew, but this character of this Jew is winning with me when I am winning my battles. This person, he's the one that I saw when I win." And of course, the second temple didn't they didn't let him to destroy it this time. But Shimon Htsadik is a very special person to Judaism. He's the one that we know from Masechet Avot that said, "Al shlosha dvarim ha'olam omed," on three things the world is exist for: al Torah, al avodah, ve'al gmilut chasadim. For the Torah, for the avodah, work, but what work is? We mean the work of Hashem, the work of the temple, the people that working in the temple for Hashem. And Gmilut Chasadim is charity. So Shimon Htsadik said, for the Torah, for the Judaism, and for the charity, this is the three things that the world work for, stand for. So we know that the tradition is from 1,000 years, that people coming and traveling to Shimon Htsadik and coming to daven there. Also, we know that when someone came to daven to daven to pray in a cave or in a grave of some tzaddik, of some very important person, he is not praying to this person, but he's asking for this person to help him take his wishes to God, to Hashem. So of course, no one praying or davening to Shimon Htsadik. He is just helping to take the wishes up. Also, a very interesting point is that the Arab people who live around Shimon Htsadik cave called this place for many years Bir El Yehudia. El Yehudia means the Jewish. So this place was known also for the Arabs for that this land was belonged to Jewish. It was very helpful because El Yehudia could be anywhere. So when people came to buy the land near Petach Tikva 200 years ago, they were asked to prove that it's a Jewish land. So they came to Shimon Htsadik, took the permission, the document that called El Yehudia, and gave it to the person that they bought it from him, and proved this is El Yehudia as well. So, and this is how Shimon Htsadik helped to build Petach Tikva. But the fact that the Arab named this person after any Jewish place that belonged to Jewish many years ago. Also, the tradition to pray by some graves of tzaddikim was known from the Bible, from Kalev ben Yefuneh. He was the first person to pray when Moshe sent him with the 12 meraglim. So Kalev ben Yefuneh was the first one to go to Hebron and pray to Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov to help him end his mission. After Kalev ben Yefuneh, the pilgrim and the tradition to pray by tzaddikim graves was known in the Mishnah and the Talmud period of time, the 3rd and the 4th centuries. But this tradition became, this costume became to be someone very common in the communities of all the Jewish in all the world, happened only in the 16th century after Ari Kadosh and his students establish or renew this costume in Tzfat. They learn in Tzfat and they learn Kabbalah on Tzfat. And what they said is that a person have to do different things so he will be able to become new. So what he have to do, what he must to do, is to come outside from his home and go around to the nature, to the valley, just feel the holiness in the nature. But around Tzfat, the nature includes some graves of some tzaddikim. And what the Ari and his students said as well is that the person that the place that one person buried is a very suitable place to connect this person, to connect the person, his soul, and also his spiritual materials that he left us. So if the right thing to do is to go outside the nature, and if the right thing to do is to go and connect some person in his grave, so it will be very normal to the community in Tzfat to start walking around the Galil Valley and found some tzaddikim graves to pray there. And this question just split around the country and came to Jerusalem as well. In Jerusalem, we don't have many. Today we have, but on those days, on the 16th century, we didn't have so many graves of tzaddikim. We have King David tomb, and we also have Shimon Htsadik tomb. So the community in Jerusalem just started travel around and came to Shimon Htsadik. Most of the time, on this time, only 3 times a year. After Sukkot, in Kuftet and Kuftet B'Tishrei, around his time, his Memorial Day, on Lag BaOmer, today, yesterday, and also on the second day of Shavuot. Why they did it? To travel around, to go outside the city, to enjoy the nature, and also to pray on Shimon Htsadik tomb, which was known as a place that could make miracles to happen. There is a story. There is some story about Rabbi Avraham Moshe Galanti, which lived in the 19th century. After that the winter came but no rain came, the community was very upset and very worried what's going to happen. We don't have any water to drink. So Rabbi Moshe Galanti called all the Jewish community in Jerusalem and told them, in this specific day, we're going to come out from the wall, bring all your boots, all your hot clothes, all your warm clothes, because we're going to pray on Shimon Htsadik cave. So when they came out, everyone, the guards, the Turkish guards, saw them on Damascus Gate and asked them, where do you go with all these winter clothes? It should be winter, but it's summer. So they told him, we're going to pray on Shimon Htsadik tomb. And he laughed at them and also split on Avraham Moshe Galanti, Rabbi Avraham Moshe Galanti, on his face. Rabbi Avraham Moshe Galanti didn't say anything, but he worked with his community to Shimon Htsadik tomb. And he prayed there and cried there and tried to call the sky. And actually, as happened in each good story, what happened that the rain came and didn't stop for 3 days. Of course, they came back to the walls, to home, to Jerusalem, and this guard came and asked for forgiveness from Rabbi Avraham Moshe Galanti and took him by his hand to his home. And there is a storyteller that said that even he even asked to be Jewish, to convert himself. I don't know if this tale was true, but it should give us the impact that Shimon Htsadik cave did for people, or the important place that it took for the community. So we know that people used to come to Shimon Htsadik. We know that it have some connection to Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, but why does Lag BaOmer became to be such a special date for visiting in Shimon Htsadik? We don't know yet. We'll talk about it later. When we used to live in Shimon Htsadik neighborhood, it was a very special day for us as citizens to be there, because it was 24 hours of celebration and celebrities, and everyone came to Shimon Htsadik. It was music 24 hours. At this time, many people come, and most of them came to do halakha, to cut their 3 years old son hair. And a person who wrote about it in the 19th century, 200 years, almost 200 years ago, and he wrote this. The Jewish visiting with their kids in this famous grave of Shimon in the 33rd day after the Pesach. This very holy day for his memorial, and when they come inside the grave, they light for him an oil candles. Also, they give charity at this opportunity. And in a very weird way, this is how he wrote, many of them shaving or cutting part of their hair and their children's hair, or even the whole hair, and donate money as the weight as the hair that cut. I don't know what the source of this weird costume, but maybe it's part of this holiness of the place. So this is how a non-Jewish person saw this part. We can tell that many people, also the Christians and the Arabs, the Muslims, really like this day because it was a festival. And when there was some festivals in the old city in Jerusalem in the 19th century, the 18th, the 17th century, people always come to join, to see different things. So it was a place of peace in a very nice way. So we talked about Kaftet B'Tishrei, the Yortzeit, Lag BaOmer, the Halakha. Also, a very nice tradition in Shimon Htsadik cave was to celebrate weddings, but not normal weddings, not the weddings that most of the weddings was in the old city, but the regulation in Jerusalem in the 17th and the 18th and the 19th century said that a person could not marry his daughter if she's not at least 12 years old. At least 12 years old. So a person who did want to marry his daughter if she is 7 years old or 9 years old, which happens sometimes, couldn't do it in the old city. It was a very polite way of the community to tell him, we are not support of this act. He could do it on Shimon Htsadik cave because it's outside the wall. You have to walk, so you don't feel actually that you are inside the old city of Jerusalem. Also, weddings of people that are too old to get married in Jerusalem, in the old Jerusalem. On the 19th century, it was a 16 years old guy or an 18 years old guy. This is it. But when they came to this age, they couldn't marry in the old city. They couldn't even live in the old city. So you have a very specific time to get married, 12 years old until you are 16, and this is it. After it, you must leave the old city if you didn't find your bride or your groom yet. So this kind of weddings also were celebrated in Shimon Htsadik. It was also the only place that was able to play with drums, because the people in Jerusalem are sorry for the destroying of the temple. They're avelim, they're sad all the time, and they're not celebrating with more than 2 instruments. So if you want more, if you want orchestra in your wedding, it have to happen only on Shimon Htsadik cave. So we have Halakha. and we also have weddings. But in what time exactly people start feel safe enough to go there? Because it's outside the walls, and people was scared, afraid to leave the walls. So on those 3 dates, we know that it was very common that people went, but they went on groups and all community came out. But also in the 19th century, it became to be more often. I mean, every month, every Rosh Chodesh, or even every Friday, people came outside the walls and went to Shimon Htsadik cave to pray, to daven, to walk, to see the nature, not for only religious reasons and just to walk around, but it must be connected to something important like to go to Shimon Htsadik. But in the end of the 19th century, the community couldn't go there anymore because some Arab took and conquered the cave and didn't let people in unless they pay. The community was very, very upset and very angry about this act, and they asked the, um, the Sultan to they asked the Sultan to let them in anyway. And he tried to figure this subject up, and then he said, okay, so why don't you as a community just buy the land, because it's not even it's called El Yehudia land, and even if we all know with Shimon Htsadik, we have some person now that declared that the land is belong to him. So just give him money, just buy the place again, and we will all be satisfied. So the community, in a very special act, joined together the Sephardi community and the Ashkenazi community, which were very separate most of the times. They get together, collect the money, and bought the land of Shimon Htsadik. It was very exciting act to do, because now they said we are not going only to pray on Shimon Htsadik cave, we also want to build a neighborhood here in Shimon Htsadik, around Shimon Htsadik cave. This is not a common place to be, because it's far from the old city, about 10 minutes walk, but it's not near Jaffa Gate. It's not near the main road to Jaffa, around all the new neighborhoods that came. It's not Mishkenot Shananim, Nachalat Shiva, Machane Israel. All these neighborhoods were near Jaffa Gate, and now we have a neighborhood that it's far away to the other side. But because Shimon Htsadik was very important to the community and to Judaism, they said, okay, this is something that we must do. But this is what they thought. To do it, it was a very difficult time to do, because the community had to collect the money to do it. It wasn't an act of private people that just coming outside the wall to build neighborhood. It was a community act. So the money is from everyone. It was very hard to collect the money, but after this, they built 10 houses for the Sephardi community, and also a shul, Bet Knesset, a synagogue. So we have 10 families that are allowed to live there, 10 poor families that are allowed to live there. What's the meaning of poor people? That the neighborhood is a neighborhood of charity. Means that if you're poor, you can come and live here for 3 years. After 3 years, you must leave. Half of the people stayed, but you must leave and let other people, other poor people to come. This was an action of some option of the community to help the poor people stand up on their feet. So we have people that coming to live in Shimon Htsadik. We have a synagogue that working, and we also have the cave itself. Near Shimon Htsadik neighborhood, start just 2 or 3 years after, start to build another neighborhood called Nachalat Shimon, also after Shimon Htsadik, of course, but this neighborhood was of people that working that can build that can buy their own land, and also can build their own houses. It was people from Syria, Jewish people from Syria, from Yemen, and also from um, Georgia. So we have two neighborhoods near Shimon Htsadik cave. What about the Arabs? Are there any Arabs around? So the answer is no, not in the beginning, because when the people start coming out the walls, in the beginning it was only Jewish and Christian. The Jewish came out the walls because they wanted to build Jerusalem and build uh, some it not be right to say state, but it was start of what now we start of Zionism actually. The Christian came outside the walls and built hospitals for their own pilgrims and churches. But the Arabs didn't feel like coming outside the wall. They didn't feel like they need it. When they did came out, it was only the rich families that could that could afford themselves to buy a land and build a house. It was also big houses with a garden, with a yard. So only the rich people could do it. The poor people, the poor Muslim people, had to stay inside the walls. And when they came out near and built their houses near Shimon Htsadik neighborhood. So we have the neighborhood, and near the neighborhood, in both sides, were a Arab family, Husseini family, and Nashashibi family. They both were very important families in Jerusalem, and near those Arab houses was also a mosque called Sheikh Jarrah Mosque. Now you all hang because you know Sheikh Jarrah. Part of you must sound Sheikh Jarrah neighborhood. So Sheikh Jarrah neighborhood started at Shimon Htsadik. Who is Sheikh Jarrah? Sheikh Jarrah, according to the tradition, was the doctor of Salah ad-Din. Salah ad-Din came to conquer Jerusalem on 1,000 years ago. And when he came with his doctor. His doctor died, and he buried him there and built a mosque in a memorial of his doctor. So Sheikh Jarrah is the mosque, and after Shimon Htsadik died during the Second Temple time, 1,000 years later, buried in the place Salah ad-Din's doctor, Sheikh Jarrah, and 800 years later, we built there a Jewish neighborhood, and after this, a second Jewish neighborhood, and after this, two Muslim neighborhood. This was the process. Till what time this Jewish neighborhood stood? Till the מלחמת העצמאות, the war of independence. When this time came, it was 1948, and in March 1948, the British army came to Shimon Htsadik people in the neighborhood and asked them to leave the neighborhood. They said there are too many battles around, there is a war going on, please leave your houses, come back when it will be safer. The people of Shimon Htsadik, we said that most of them were poor people, so they said, okay, we're going to leave, and we will come back after the war will end. But when the war was ended, they couldn't come back. Because 2 months after they leave, it was the 14th of May, and Ben-Gurion established the State of Israel. When he did it, after the war ended, they drew, Moshe Dayan and Abdallah Atel, draw the line that leave Shimon Htsadik neighborhood in Jordan. So the people from Shimon Htsadik neighborhood couldn't come back. They had to wait. Till when? 20 years later, it was the 6-day war, so we reconnect Jerusalem But after this, it took more than 30 years after we came back, and people start asking, what about the houses in this Shimon Tzaddik neighborhood? We remember something like this. Sometimes there wasn't a neighborhood, and good people of Jerusalem start collect the documents and went with the documents to the court of Israel that helped them and gave them permission to go back and build again the neighborhood. So today we have 20 families in Shimon Htsadik neighborhood that live there. What about the shul, the Bet Knesset, the synagogue of Shimon Htsadik? So when they came to the neighborhood 20 years ago to see what's going on with the documents and with the permission and all, they saw that this building of the shul was just full of rubbish and was very very big mess there. They clean it up, and today we have the shul open, and everyone can come and pray. There is a kollel we learn there all the time, beside Shabbos and holidays, but they always there praying, davening. So we have the neighborhood again. We have the shul again. We have the festival of Shimon Htsadik again. And what about Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai? What about Lag BaOmer? So we said all the time that Rabbi Shimon Htsadik is Rabbi Shimon of the Jerusalem people that can't go to Milan, so they coming to Jerusalem. But I think that we just saw here tonight that those people actually came to Shimon Htsadik all the time. So this custom to come and pray in Shimon Htsadik was very normal for them. And when it's when we celebrating like in Lag BaOmer, it was just normal for them not to go to Tzfat, to Miron, and to come to pray to daven in Shimon Htsadik tomb. But I think that what Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai teaching us is very similar to what Shimon Htsadik teaching us. What Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai learned in his cave, and when he first came out, he couldn't deal the world. He couldn't see people just working their own land. He said, I learned Torah all this time, and what a Jew should do is just to work for Hashem. But he just need to be in holiness and in Kedusha, and he couldn't just work. And then God told him, okay, you didn't understand it right. Please go back to the cave. And he sat down another year. Then when he came out with his son, he understand that he understand that we have to connect. We have to it had to be integration between the eternity and the contemporary. And if we can do it, if we can integrate between Torah, Avodah, and Gmilut Chasadim, Torah, work, and charity, if we could do that, we can build the world. And what Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai tells us, it's also what Shimon Htsadik tells us just many years before Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. So I think that it's not an accident that on Lag BaOmer all the Jerusalem people coming to Shimon Htsadik, because this is this Torah, these meaningful things that Shimon Htsadik tells us is actually the light of. It's very similar to the light of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. So I hope that soon enough we will be able all to come to Shimon Htsadik tomb to daven, to pray, to ask from the tzaddik to take all our wishes to God. And also I hope that we will all be able to meet soon and travel Jerusalem. Thank you very much to Reshit Yerushalayim for this opportunity to talk about Lag BaOmer, if not to see, as just to talk. And you all invited to join the next lectures on this week. You will be able to follow on Reshit Yerushalayim website, on Facebook, and you all welcome to travel soon. Thank you very much.